Samus? Samus Aran?
Hey! Hey, Samus Aran! I'm stuck! Help me out! Oh! Please get me down.
Oh, no, there's too many of them. You know, shooting me isn't gonna get this to open any faster. Look at him fly! Nice shot. I bet I could upgrade my suit to do more fall. Wait, I'm not very flexible.
Metroid is dead. They have added a quippy Marvel movie comic relief character to Metroid, a game whose main appeal is isolation and atmosphere, which is constantly broken by millennial writing. That just happened for pathetic losers who can't be alone with their own thoughts for even a second. This is worse than I ever possibly could have imagined. But all I can say is one thing. I told you. I knew it. The moment you saw a giant empty open world in a Metroid game, you should have known that they have no idea what they're doing. They have no idea what Metroid stands for. They have no idea why anyone even likes these games, because this isn't a Metroid game. This is your standard AAA slop written by Hollywood writers wearing Metroid skin. Now, before I go completely off the rails and get myself put on a watch list, let me at least explain to you what's going on. The early gameplay preview footage for Metroid Prime 4 is no longer under embargo, meaning the footage can be released and people can make videos about it. And within that first 90 minutes of gameplay, there is a sidekick character, and from the moment he appears, at no point does he ever shut up. The feelings Metroid is trying to invoke, Prime specifically, is that of exploring an alien planet. The tension, the unease of being alone and afraid, but also the peace. It's a beautiful game. You're going to be spending a lot of time not fighting enemies, just exploring, scanning things, reading lore, taking in the atmosphere, and have all that broken by an annoying side character saying, look at me, look at how funny I am, don't think. Any silence and you might have to think. I know this is pretty far-fetched for people nowadays, but imagine you actually go outside. You're on a hike, admiring nature. You breathe in the cool mountain air, and then there's someone constantly yammering in your ear. Hey, did you know you can walk with 2 feet, 1 foot in front of the other? Wow, it's so cool how you drank that water earlier. Now add on the fact that this is a video game with gameplay. You have to actively protect this person. This is an escort mission. Surely it ends at some point, but it shouldn't exist at all. And even when you think it ends, you think the character's gone, he manages to establish radio communication with you. Meaning, in this game that is supposed to be about isolation, about exploring a planet, the peace and the danger of being alone, you are never alone. Far beyond missing the point. Adding an open world was missing the point. This is knowing exactly what the point is and specifically choosing the complete opposite. Anyone who is all of a sudden disappointed by this news, that before you might have bought Metroid Prime 4, and now, knowing that they've turned it into a Marvel movie, you are no longer excited. You should be ashamed. I am ashamed of myself. I gave it a 20% chance this game was going to be good, and that was dumb. It is 0. It is clearly 0. It has always been 0. Now it's just more clear. The moment they introduced a giant empty desert in a game series about claustrophobia and meaningful exploration, where there's something around every corner, every wall could have a secret in it, and you replace that with empty nothing, of course the game was gonna be bad. That was not a red flag. That was them openly saying, we do not understand Metroid. So of course they don't understand. You can't put a quippy Marvel character who is designed to be as annoying as possible with the clear goal of removing tension in a game series about tension. Oh, don't get your hopes up, by the way. I'm sure some people are deluding themselves into thinking this is just a tutorial character, that they teach you the ropes. First of all, they don't teach you anything. They're just there to be as annoying as possible. But not only does he establish radio communication with you, meaning he'll be able to talk to you whenever and wherever, but if you let him die, you get a mission failure. Federation trooper killed in action. It doesn't say Miles was killed in action. The name of this extremely annoying character says Federation Trooper. So you better believe there's gonna be more Federation Troopers. A whole cast of characters and a whole series of escort missions. In fact, we can even make a pretty good guess of how many characters there will be. 6. The logbook has 6 slots for Federation Troopers. So although Samus doesn't speak, over the radio, I'm sure we'll get tons of quirky and interesting conversations between nobodies designed by committee to be as relatable to the lowest common denominator 80 IQ bugmen who are disgusted by even the thought of peace. A game written by and made for the annoying kid who never shut up because bullying isn't allowed anymore. You know, it's not fun being right all the time. I would prefer if I was wrong at least every once in a while. If we could just get one good surprise. But then again, if it was good news, it wouldn't be a surprise at all. It would have been in the marketing, in the trailers. But oh so conveniently, every trailer has cut around this character. The trailers feature gameplay that Miles should appear in, and yet he's not there. It's almost like they knew that people would hate this. And yet they did it anyway. Why? The obvious answer is that the broader audience that watches every Marvel movie, buys all of the products, fills their house with plastic toys as a grown adult, can never and will never have children. These not quite people do not care about Metroid at all. And they love quirky millennial characters. And they would be scared off by a game that leaves you alone with your own thoughts, that being alone will scare them away, will remind them that dad is never coming home. These bugmen will love the game. So why not let them know that the stuff they love is in the game by showing it off and all the press material? But these kind of people don't watch trailers. They don't get excited long before the game comes out. Maybe a week before. That's the best you'll get. These people thrive on hype. That's why games sell faster than ever, but have no longevity at all. So the plan is you make a bunch of trailers that only Metroid fans will really care about and like, and they'll hype it up all over social media that they're so excited, that it's been years and years and they've been waiting so long and this is gonna be amazing. And then by the time anyone realizes that the game has nothing to do with Metroid and it's ruined the series permanently, there's now a flood of Disney adults talking about how it's the greatest game ever and that they always hated Metroid before, but this is the first really good one. And that's the obvious theory as to why they would do something like this to Metroid. But it's not mine. This isn't what I believe. I don't think this has anything to do with the game at all. I don't think the game matters. I think this is to set up a Metroid cinematic universe. You hire Hollywood writers to write the game, a cast of quirky characters that you can then use in a big movie. This is already where Nintendo's been heading. 2 Mario movies, a Legend of Zelda movie, and soon to be a Metroid movie. And you can't have a Metroid movie without characters, and we've already learned that no one can stand Samus talking. So if Samus can't talk, someone has to. You can't have a movie rely on atmosphere and cinematography. No, you need constant jingling of keys. There has to be banter and drama. It has to be for the whole family. If an 8-year-old can't enjoy it, then what's the point? Miles, my new best friend here, is going to be played by Charlie Day. Get ready. The thing that really breaks my heart has nothing to do with the video game, but everything to do with the fact that people never learn their lesson, ever, because no one can admit when they're wrong. Do you know how many people made comments about how, oh, I agree with all your other points, but I think Metroid Prime 4 is gonna be good. The open world looks cool. Do you think any of those people will learn anything from this? Will realize that you really can see the future, that no one has ever just messed up one thing, that maybe they just fundamentally did not understand what Metroid was, that you cannot make a game in a franchise that you don't care about. Van Halen is known for a very strange request. This was a band, and when they went to a venue, one of the list of demands was there could be no brown M&Ms. Why would they do that? That's just absurd, right? No, the point was to check if the venue cared. If there were no brown M&Ms, it means they followed everything on the list and all the safety standards would be met. If there were brown M&Ms, it means they didn't care. They didn't follow instructions and could not follow instructions. That although the M&M part did not matter, it was a sign that something else would be wrong. That's what this is. It doesn't matter how good the open world was. Maybe it would be great, but it showed that they did not care. They did not follow instructions. They could not follow instructions. And it was a sign that they were going to mess up something far more fundamental, which they did, and I told you so. And everyone who said I was wrong, you should feel ashamed. Not for being wrong, but for being stupid. Willful ignorance, I just can't stand. How many times does this have to happen? 100? A million? A billion? Mistake after mistake after mistake. Disappointment after disappointment after disappointment. At what point do you learn your lesson? Never? I can't stop thinking about how they restarted development. How we had a Metroid game that they canceled to make room for this. It could not have been worse. It's not possible. I was intentionally being a doomer when I said we had a perfectly good Metroid game and that they intentionally canceled it to make the game more like Breath of the Wild. This was a joke. Maybe not a joke, but I didn't actually believe it. I 100% believe it now. Maybe not specifically to be more like Breath of the Wild, because at least that game didn't have Na'vi following you the whole time, making jokes, ruining the silence. No, what happened here was they were making a real Metroid game, and as good as Metroid Prime is, it has a AAA budget, but it does not sell AAA copies. The original Metroid Prime, less than 3 million copies. The re-release on Switch, less than 2 million. No, they wanted to make a AAA game and sell AAA copies. And how do you do that? You make a traditional AAA game. And those games have constant talking, a large cast of quirky characters, and they emulate movies. They turned Metroid into a modern God of War game, or Uncharted, or Last of Us. I play Nintendo games specifically to get away from that, and it's all over. You know, it's a weird detail, but did you notice that when Miles dies, they actually say he's killed? A Federation member has been killed. Isn't that a bit weird for a Nintendo game? Oh, but that makes it more adult. No, it doesn't. This isn't adult. What are you, a child? If this was adult, you would kill Miles yourself, and should. You think in a real military situation of any kind, someone constantly making jokes, you wouldn't strangle them? That maybe listening to your environment is important? No, this is an adult. This is fake. It's mature in the same way that a 13-year-old smoking is. I don't know how clear I made this earlier, but this character is a tutorial character. So every second, he's constantly telling you, hey, do you want to use that save room? Hey, it might be important to save. Did you know you can hurt enemies with missiles? Shooting things does damage. This isn't maturity, this is made for babies. So why would it say kill? Well, this is the exact same feeling I get from other modern AAA games. The last God of War, big strong guy, oh, he kills gods. But if you go to a puzzle and you don't solve it in 15 seconds, they just immediately tell you how to do it. That Kratos, no matter how strong he is completely passive. He's only reactive to the world around him. He never gets angry and hurts someone he shouldn't have. No, I think all of this comes from the same idea. It's this need for everything to be all ages. And before, all ages just meant no cursing, it's a fun game, everyone likes fun games. But now everything is a horrible amalgamation of adult and children's media, where you have supposedly adult themes, like killing and depression, but then the actual media is made for babies. It's Cocomelon for adults. Jingling of keys, quipping, jokes every 30 seconds, nothing can be left up to interpretation, constant tutorializing. It's like being mocked for being an adult. Like, oh yeah, you're real big and strong. Oh, I bet you like killing. Yeah, rah. Anyway, make sure to eat your vegetables is the lowest common denominator. That wider audience everyone's seeking. Are they basically just children? Maybe. Maybe they do need to be treated like this. They're the people who are like, adulting sure is hard. They wish they were children. But why not just consume children's media then? Why do you take something that should be more mature and dumb it down to the point where no one can enjoy it? I highly doubt any Nintendo fanboys are even still watching at this point, but if they are, surely you must have liked Breath of the Wild. Surely there must have been something special about that game to you. Do you really think it would have been the same experience if Na'vi was yammering in your ear the entire game? Oh look, you discovered a valley. Huh, I wonder if you could use the bomb on this. Whoa, that's a Lionel. Those are scary. This reminds me of the time I was eaten by a Dodongo. I said in my last video that the quality of Metroid Prime 4 will determine the future of the Switch 2. That's had a lot of problems, and this might be the straw that breaks the camel's back. This is not straw. This is an anchor that's been dropped on the camel, cutting it in half. The camel, it has no more bones. All of the bones are gone. It is goo on the floor. I have no hope at all for the future of Nintendo. Nothing. God himself could beam into my mind's eye that the future is bright, and I would not believe him. Be gone from me, Satan, for you lie. It is easier for King Dedede to fit through the eye of a needle than for good games to be released in the modern age. Yet even still, this is worse news than the game just being bad. It's bad in the same way every other AAA game is bad. It's bad in the same way that Concord is bad. Nintendo makes bad stuff all the time. I hate to say it, they've done it many times, but never like this. They've never been bad in the same way that everyone else is bad. This marks the end of an era. Nintendo is now just like every other developer. There is no distinction between them and Sony. It's all just the same slop. I'm not even saying they'll never make a good game again, but they'll never make a game that's special again. Not unless the company completely restructures. The president is replaced by someone who actually makes video games, because everything wrong with Metroid Prime 4 reeks of corporate meddling. I mean, by definition, them canceling the original game is corporate meddling. Who do you think canceled it? It was corporate. And what is corporate obsessed with right now? Movies. It's just so funny that we did this all before. I still haven't forgotten Metroid Other M, except this is much, much worse. At least that was kind of funny. The baby. And mainly only intruded upon the cutscenes. At least the gameplay was fine. Now there is no quiet left. It has this brooding, atmospheric soundtrack that you can't even hear over an annoying dweeb talking about nothing. Samus can't talk, but that might actually be worse. At least if she could talk, she might make fun of this guy. I'd get a little joy about her beating him to death. But no, she just sits there and takes it. Just like you'll sit there and take it. This is a humiliation ritual. They want you to be sad. They want to see how much you'll take, how much feces are you willing to consume? The answer should be 0, but we know it's not 0. It's not even close to 0. Just look at Pokemon. They just keep getting worse and selling better. Pokemon Sword and Shield is the worst Pokemon game, and it's the best-selling game since Red and Blue. Quality has never been equal to sales. They're not even related. I keep seeing Nintendo fans being like, who cares? The game will sell well anyway. Why is that a good thing? That's a bad thing. You should feel ashamed. Ashamed that you and the people who buy these games are both considered human. It's not my definition of the word, but it's most people's. Why would you be happy, excited even, for a company you claim to love to be rewarded for something you know is bad? The more they get rewarded for doing the wrong thing, the more they're gonna do it. It's like a child. They should be beaten. I don't know if I made it very clear, but obviously, do not, for the love of God, buy this game. Now, I'm still gonna play it and make a video about it, but there are other ways of playing things without having to buy them, because this is a Switch 1 game, you know, like borrowing from a friend. I just have to know how bad it gets. Somehow, every time, my expectations have been destroyed. I don't know how it could be done this time, though. I don't know what worse than I could imagine even is at this point. What I'm thinking of is like a 0 out of 10, but maybe we'll find the illustrious -1 out of 10. I think the only thing that's saving me from a trip to Greenland is that Kirby comes out before then, and Kirby's made by Sakurai. And if there's any lesson to be learned here, you should only ever be excited for a game that you've seen an incredible amount of footage of, so there is nothing for them to hide, and is made by a true visionary. I couldn't name a single person working on Metroid Prime 4. Not one. And I really don't want to know them now. Honestly, the only good thing that could happen is if everyone who's even thought about the name Metroid Prime 4 gets fired and blacklisted permanently. Now, obviously, that would never happen, but it should. This game is poison to the soul. How are Nintendo fanboys going to defend this now? I say that as if I don't already know. They're gonna be like, I never liked Metroid. It's scary. It's boring. What, you hate fun? Well, no, it's fun immersion. I miss immersion. To lose yourself in the world. I can't immerse myself in a game where every 5 seconds I have to hear, did you remember to use your missiles? Don't leave me behind, Samus. Those Chozo sure were smart. I think the only appropriate response to this news is fire and brimstone. May God punish these heathens for their existence. Anyway, Nintendo's so bad, Switch 2 still garbage. Bye.